New World play numbers are on the rise. Now, I can't say it's more popular than ever because when we had the launch of the game, it was very, very popular. And then obviously since then it trended downwards up until last month. And since last month, things seem to have changed. And with Brimstone Sands being announced, the game is looking pretty healthy right now. So let's show you some stats and we'll talk about it. So here we are on Steam charts, right? But you can see that for most of the time we were trending down up until this point here. Now, this point is when we got the Summer Medley Fur. We got that patch and people really seem to enjoy it. The numbers changed quite significantly, and you can see that this is reflected here where July was 13,000, August was 16,500, right? So that was nice to see. We actually saw a bump in plays at that point. And my expectation was that this would probably trickle down up until we got the Brimstone Sands patch. But what actually seems to have happened is that the Brimstone Sands patch has brought people back, and that's interesting in its own way. So let's zoom in a little bit and have a look at how many players have actually come back. So if we get to this point here, you see just before the Summer Medley Fur patch, and then you see where Brimstone Sands was announced. And it sort of seems to have took a couple of days, but the last day or so has been pretty damn popular for New World. We've had a peak of 27 and then a peak of 30,000 people. And we've not had a peak like that since April. Now, I don't necessarily think that September will maintain these numbers. After all, there is now no content for 2 months up until we get the Brimstone Sands update. Yes, we will have the PTR and that'll be interesting and stuff like that, but the majority of the player base will not be playing that for 2 months, if that makes sense. So really, it seems like the game is getting popular again in a sense. It looks like the Brimstone Sands update and the Summer Medley Fur has really combined to create actually some interest in New World again. Something that is sort of reflected on my YouTube channel personally because my views are up. Now, this popularity right now is coming with a little bit of a cost, and that is that some people cannot get into the game because there's too many queues, and there's too many queues because New World merged the servers. Now, we wanted merges, but it feels like they just went like one server too many in a lot of regions, especially EU right now, for example. If we jump onto New World database and I just sort by like high to low, interestingly, it looks like this server is 2250 in terms of like capacity. I didn't realize that, but saying that, it does have 1,000 people waiting in the queue. And it's the same for Dry Tree, apart from it doesn't have the extra 200 people. I'm on Barry, and if I wanted to go on Barry right now, there would be a massive queue. And in fact, every server on EU Central has a queue. Like, there are no more servers, the PTR doesn't count. Do you know what I mean? But all the main servers right now in EU have a queue. Sort of suggests they need at least one more EU server, right? They went a little bit too far. It's great to see full servers and actually sort of near capacity, but you don't want to be playing like with a queue every evening. Now, today that I'm recording this is a Sunday, which is of course the more popular day out of any, but let's face it, it's getting a little bit crazy, and people in my comments are like, I came back, I logged in, I actually couldn't log in because there was a massive queue, and therefore I just didn't play. Now, I don't really know what this is like in US East and stuff like that. The fact that the servers are already getting like quite full in US East sort of suggests to me there's probably a similar issue there. So it definitely feels like now would be a sensible time to open up a server, or if New World are actually planning anything with the launch of Brimstone Sands, just sort of tell us what it is, be it overfull servers or something like that, or even bigger servers, because in an interview it was strongly hinted that bigger servers might come. Maybe now isn't the right time, as we're going to all get funneled into Brimstone Sands, but it's quite patently obvious to see that this is not a good circumstance right now for most players. Now, this is a little bit awkward to show, but it does seem that the interest in the game has also gone up a little bit. If we actually look at these charts here, we can see that viewership is up on Twitch, right, which is sort of what you would expect. If the game is sort of getting a little bit more like hype around it, if you will, then people's interest is going up. People obviously want to check out the game. It all makes sense. So what do I think will happen with the player numbers going forward? I would not be surprised to see the number sort of tail off a little bit. I think in September and October it will be sort of hard to maintain that hype. However, I would not be surprised that when the Brimstone Sands update actually drops, that the numbers and the players will properly go up to a peak that we've not seen in even longer. We know we might be going back to like, we might actually go back to like April's numbers. Obviously, it'll probably temporarily be brief, but the key thing there will be what's next. The play numbers for these kind of games sort of rely on updates, and it's not unusual that you'll have content and then people will play that content and then go away from that content and they'll play something else. That's completely fine and acceptable. What's important is that that content is good and the feeling around the game is getting better. And for sure, I think the Medley Fur really started something here, and the Brimstone Sands seems to be continuing that. So this is nice to see. Let's see if they can maintain it and how long they will maintain it for. Let me know if you're somebody thinking about getting back into it. Let me know if you have started because of the Brimstone Sands update. I would be very intrigued to know that. If you want to support this YouTube channel, do consider becoming a YouTube member. It really would help. Obviously, you can like this video and subscribe to the channel if you just want to see more. What you should definitely do though is have a most beautiful day. Goodbye.